Hi, everybody. Ground control to Major Tom. Hi, folks. I'm Pat O'Brien, and welcome to our show today. We're calling the show Everything All the Time. Now, the problem with that title is that we can't talk about everything, and we don't have all the time. We got about an hour, or now 55 minutes. But I'm glad you're here. If you don't know who I am, don't Google me. I started news, and I went to sports. I did all the sporting events your father watched and you watched, from the NBA to college football, to the NFL, 9 Olympics, all that. Went to entertainment, started up Access Hollywood, or actually started when I got there. We'll get to that in a minute because I have an Access Hollywood guest today. And then went to the Insider, and then I've been, and that's not my ringtone, by the way. My ringtone is the Beatles. But, and then I've just been around, I got sober. I got 7 years of sobriety. I'd helped people, and I'm doing this now, and television and everything I could do. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you for joining in today. You can tweet us, come online, ask some questions. We're going to have Scott Mantz from Access Hollywood here in a minute. He's the film critic's film critic. This guy is great. I've known him for 20 years. And later on, Scott Flansburgh, the human calculator. Now, when you say human calculator, this dude I've never been able to beat him with an ordinary calculator. And he can divide and conquer like you cannot believe. And we're going to have to go on blind faith here that he doesn't have any of the numbers. And if you have 3-digit numbers, tweet them to us or put them online to us, and we'll use your numbers to talk to Scott Flansburgh. And we'll see how well. By the way, the guy never misses. David Bowie died this week. I was driving here this morning down Sunset Boulevard, and all the clubs, the Troubadour and the Roxy, and they all had signs that said R.I.P. David Bowie. It's amazing to me that these rock critics who are paid so much and are so self-indulgent about their work could not figure out that Lazarus, or that Black Star, his new album that he put out on his birthday, his 69th birthday last week, was actually about his death. It's amazing. These guys, they always act like they know. Of course, I didn't know either, but I'm not a music critic. But now when you listen to the album, it is about death. One of the great lines is, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And that's the truth there. Before I start dying on the air here, I want to bring in Scott Mantz. Scotty, how are you, man?
Hey, Pat.
Good to see you.
Awesome.
Scott Mantz and I have known each other for years, and we worked together at Access Hollywood.
That's right.
For the great Rob Silverstein, who's, by the way, is 6'8". Did you know that?
Rob Silverstein is a tall man.
Yeah, he's a tall man. And you guys had a great
Big
show
guy,
last night.
yes.
Access Hollywood, of course, the number one, the go-to place for entertainment. And I was glad to have been a big part of that. Scotty, the Golden Globes are in the books, and
Yep.
the Oscars are coming out.
That's
right. The nominations are when?
The nominations for the Oscars are this coming Thursday at 5:30 a.m. Pacific time. And, the Golden Globes...
Do you have to get up for that?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
But that is a show that I'm very, very excited to get up for. That's the only time I'm going to get up at 3:30 in the morning with a smile on my face.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure about that. But now, how much do the Globes, despite what Ricky Gervais said, affect the Oscars?
Well, not as much as you think.
Because
That's
the
a
votes are
very big
already
question.
in, right?
Well, the votes are already in for the Oscar nominations.
Mm-hmm.
If the Oscar nominations were this Thursday and the Golden Globes were just this past
right.
Sunday, the nominations for the Oscars are already set. And we're going to see the results of those nominations on Thursday. Now, where the Globes could come into play is where the Oscar winners will take place, because the Oscar voters might be a little swayed by how the Golden Globes sort of panned out. And the Golden Globes ceremony was full of a lot of surprises. I had some predictions for the film categories, and I got almost none of them.
I don't think anybody did. I mean, right?
I mean, every award winner was a surprise. I thought Best Director was going to go to Ridley Scott. It went to Alejandro Inarritu for The Revenant. I thought Best Picture Drama was going to go to Spotlight. It went to The Revenant.
I ran into Mark Ruffalo at at one of these, the BAFTA thing.
Yeah.
By the way, when you go to these swag parties, this is what I got. This is it.
And you kept it. That's the question.
I brought it in. Look at that. That's a pen. This is what you get when you're on the inside and go to these parties. But I ran into Mark Ruffalo, and I couldn't. That's what I used to do. I used to be like a bulldog in news.
Yep.
And I said that's what I did. I took my son to see that, to show him what I used to do. And I thought Spotlight would run away with everything, right?
Well, here's
But it's the foreign press.
here. What's the foreign press? Okay.
They don't understand
First of
journalism
all,
that much.
we're talking about the foreign press. There are 82 members of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which
Right.
votes for the Golden Globes. 82 people who are basically journalists versus basically journalists.
I got it.
You hear what I'm saying here?
No, I got you.
But Pat, how many people do you think are in the Motion Picture Academy, which votes for the Oscars?
It's like 3,000?
6,000
Yeah, that's
people
half right.
are in the are vote for the Oscar winners. So that's a very, very big difference, and that's why I don't think in the long run the Golden Globe nominees and the Golden Globe winners really have that much of an impact on the Oscars.
So let me get this straight again. So the nominations are in, but then the Oscar, the Academy members vote on the nominations.
Right. Well, now that the nominations are in, and we're going to see who got nominated on Thursday.
Right.
After that comes, well, who's going to win? The Oscar winners are going to be announced the last weekend of February. That's a month and a half away. So these Academy voters have some time now. They have about a month or so to vote for the winners.
And how many movies do they include? Was it 10 or was it?
Well,
lower?
they have up to 10 nominees. Back in 2009, the rules were changed where you would have 10 Best Picture nominees to allow for bigger commercial movies. Like I remember that year, District 9 got nominated for Best Picture. That was a big commercial film. It was a great movie. But The Blind Side got nominated for Best Picture. That should not really have been
Small
nominated,
movie, yeah.
even
Smaller.
though Sandra Bullock did win for Best Actress. I never really thought of The Blind Side as a movie that was worthy of getting nominated for Best Picture. So that went on for a couple of years, and then the rules changed again to this sort of sliding scale, which meant that anywhere between 5 and 10 Best Picture nominees could be nominated. I think this year, if I had to guess, I don't know if we'll see 10 nominees, but I think we'll see 8 or 9 Best Picture nominees. All the other major categories have 5 nominees.
Now, Spotlight should do better. I'm kind of obsessed with Spotlight.
Spotlight's a great
I've seen
movie.
it 2 times, and it's so good, and the cast is
Yeah,
the
Spotlight
casting
was
in
my
that.
favorite live-action movie of 2015.
So they have to do a lot better than they did the Globes. They didn't do anything. in the
Right.
Globes, did
Well,
they?
again, The Revenant. Here's the difference between Spotlight and The Revenant. Spotlight is a great film.
One's indoors and one's outdoors.
One's very, very much outdoors, but there's the rub right there. You just said it yourself. One is indoors, and it's a great film, but I feel like if I watch Spotlight at home on a screener or on Blu-ray or DVD, I would still love it as much as I did. Whereas The Revenant, you need to see The Revenant on the big screen. That is a movie in every sense of the word, a movie with a capital M. It's a big, grand film that pushed the boundaries of filmmaking.
And Oscars like
ultimately,
that, right?
The Oscars love that. Now, last year, if you remember, the Best Picture and Best Director for 2014's movies, which were awarded, or 2014's movies, which are not honored this past year, it came down to Boyhood versus Birdman.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Remember that? Okay, so Boyhood opened in July, and it was a
2
critical
great
darling.
films.
2 great films, 2 completely different films. One felt like it was done all in one take, even though it really wasn't, Birdman. The other was filmed over the course of 12
Wait,
years.
let me stop there. How much of Birdman was not one take?
Oh,
Because I know this stuff, and I couldn't figure out.
Well, they were
Go to
very
black a lot.
They were very clever in where they would do the cuts because there would be like a few seconds where there was like a blackness,
Like a hallway, and then
yeah, and then it would come out. So if you watch the film a second time, you can kind of guess where they did the cuts. But still, it doesn't take away from the fact that it's a grand, exhilarating film. But it felt like a stage play.
Right.
Whereas Boyhood, they shot it a little by little over the course of 12 years, and you see the kid growing up on the screen. Nothing like that had ever been done. But the point I'm trying to make is that Boyhood was an early critical darling, a top 10 lists towards the end of the year, but then Birdman opened and it platformed. So it started to expand in theaters nationwide just as award season was getting underway, and it literally rode the wave into the Oscars. And Alejandro Inarritu, who directed The Revenant, won Best Picture, Best Screenplay,
Hey,
and
guys.
Best Picture for Birdman.
He's the man, isn't he?
He's the man. And listen, The Revenant, I've seen it 3 times now. the more I see it, the more I like it, because it's a lot of movie to take in just one sitting. When you watch it again and you watch it again, you really know what to look for. You're able to appreciate things you might have missed the first time around. And I feel like while I still feel that in terms of the Oscars, regardless of what happened at the
Right.
Globes, I feel like Ridley Scott will probably win Best Director at
Such
the
an
Oscars.
angry guy, though.
Yeah. Oh, did you see him at the Globes?
Yeah,
He's
I
like,
did.
screw you. He just kept going and
Yeah,
kept going.
I know.
And
You
then Spotlight will probably win Best Picture. But there could be an upset just like there was last year.
Scott Mance is our guest, and we come back here. We'll talk a little bit about, can the Oscars kiss ass as much as the Globes do? I mean, The Martian, that was some funny movie.
The Martian was not a comedy. How the hell was that a comedy?
They wanted Matt to get in there,
And he won.
And I agree.
So it worked.
And I agree. I love Matt Damon. In fact, Matt Damon was first on Access Hollywood with me.
Oh,
Remember
for
that?
Good
The
Will
famous
Hunting.
shot? Yeah.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Anyway, we'll be back with Scott Mance from Access Hollywood. I'm Pat O'Brien. Be right back.